start this Briscoe and Eves edition of SportsCenter with breaking news from the NBA. Giannis Antetokounmpo is headed to South Beach. Social media went into a frenzy when this news hit your phone, everyone's Google. It's been a long time coming, but he's headed to South Beach in Briscoe. This is a huge blockbuster of a trade.
Absolutely it is. I mean, we've been waiting for this news to break, and it is now actually happening. It is Giannis and Bobby Portis to the Heat, and in exchange, the Bucks are bringing in an absolute haul that includes 4 players, Tyler Herro and Jaime Jacquez among them, as well as 3 first-round picks, including the 13th in tomorrow night's draft. There is also a 1 pick swap and a 2nd round pick. Shams is obviously on the case here. So let's just start with this one. How did the deal finally get done?
Guys, this was a 13-month trade saga for Giannis Antetokounmpo and the Milwaukee Bucks. Just to put it plainly, Giannis felt like his time was up with the Bucks a calendar year ago. The Bucks at every turn did everything they could to try to keep him. They fought this right until the end with Giannis to try to win around him. They depleted their assets, their salary books as well. But Giannis informed the team numerous times that it was time for both sides to move on, that he would not sign a long-term contract extension. So now for the Bucks, several weeks ago, they opened up for business. They started negotiating with several teams, and they really started to focus in on the Miami Heat and the Boston Celtics over the last few weeks. Co-owner Jimmy Haslam came out a period of time ago and made it very clear that by the draft, the Bucks wanted to know whether Giannis was going to commit long-term or they would move him. Giannis was not willing to commit long-term, so they are now moving him. And you think about the haul that the Bucks got after negotiating with Boston and Miami in the last few weeks. You get Tyler Herro, that's a homecoming for him. Kel'el Ware, a young center. Jaime Jacquez, a good two-way wing. You get Kasparas Jakucionis, who's just 20 years old, an up-and-coming guard. And then they get a significant return of draft capital. 3 first-round picks unprotected, including the 13th pick in the draft on Tuesday night. You get 1 pick swap far out in 2030, and then a 2033 second-round pick. So the Bucks now turn the page on the Giannis era after 13 years. Taylor Jenkins signed a 6-year contract to be the Bucks head coach. They are now going to take time to reassess this team. This is a step back for the organization, but one that they do with flexibility, with picks, with young players, controllable contracts, rookie scale deals as well. But listen, Pat Riley has landed his white whale. We know his history. Shaquille O'Neal, Alonzo Mourning, LeBron James, Chris Bosh, Jimmy Butler, and now Giannis is walking into Miami to play in South Beach with Bam Adebayo. The job for the Heat isn't done, but that's a pretty strong duo to start with.
So they get all those players plus all those draft picks. So what did the Celtics not offer up, Shams, in order for their offer to be considered by the Bucks?
So, Michael, my understanding is the Celtics aggressively pursued Giannis this draft period cycle. They went after him at the deadline as well, but clearly nothing came to fruition. But at this cycle here with the draft, the Celtics offered Jaylen Brown, the 2024 Finals MVP, and I'm told 2 unprotected first-round draft picks. And so the holdup in those conversations ultimately became the Bucks wanted more assets. They wanted a couple young players, Ugo Gonzalez, Baylor Shireman, potentially others. They wanted more first-round picks, more swaps. But was there a middle ground to be had? But at the end of the day, my understanding is the Celtics were not willing to part with enough young players and assets to get a deal done. The offer stood as Jaylen Brown and a couple first-round picks. So now, if you're Boston, there is going to be fallout from this, some hard conversations, because for the second time in 4 years, the Celtics have offered Jaylen Brown, their co-star with Jason Tatum, in a trade. Back in 2022, the Celtics offered Jaylen Brown in a package for Kevin Durant, now for Giannis Antetokounmpo. And so the tables are a little different now because Jaylen Brown is a Finals MVP. He just came off a year where he was a MVP finalist as well. And so there are going to be some conversations now moving forward. Jaylen Brown is extension eligible in July. We'll see where things go from here.
In terms of where things go for the teams that actually got this deal done, the Bucks and the Heat, are they done dealing?
So, technically, Nicole, they don't have to be, because I'm told both sides will wait until July 6th to execute the deal. So that means, like the Rockets and Suns did last year when Kevin Durant was traded to Houston, that deal happened around this period of time. The sides waited a period of weeks. It ended up being a historic 7-team trade. I'm not saying this deal will be that, but they're going to leave it open here. They have to make the deal execute with the period of time due to the salaries. But this time will allow Milwaukee and Miami to see, there are other ways to increase the deal, expand the deal. But as of right now, Milwaukee wants to move forward with these players. They've got draft picks. They've got what they believe to be a competitive haul of players and picks to allow this franchise to move forward in a way with flexibility that they weren't going to have with Jaylen Brown. Remember, guys, Jaylen Brown has 3 years left on his deal. Big money, super max contract money. He was due for an extension coming up here. And so you have to decide if you're the Bucks. You just gave up Giannis because you felt in large part you're not ready to compete for a championship now. So do you want to put yourself in a position, if you're going to get a 30-year-old Jaylen Brown, that comes with a level of expectation. They rather take a step back and assess now moving forward with some assets.
The number of times we've been sitting here, this little trio, talking about the potential of a Giannis trade. The fact that it has finally happened feels in some way a little surreal. Shams, thank you.
Well, it's been quite the run for Giannis in Milwaukee. 13 seasons, a couple MVPs. Let's take a look at some of the best moments of his career. Let's go back to June of 2013, very beginning.
Baby Giannis.
Drafted, a little kid from Greece, 15th overall. This is what he said a few months prior to the draft.
What kind of basketball player are you?
I'm an all-around player. I can jump, I can shoot, I can pass the ball. I can do everything in the court.
What kind of player will you be in 5 years from now?
I'll be much stronger. I'll be much better in everything that I do.
All right, fine. So let's fast forward 5 years later,
he looked a little
February
different.
2018. He was stronger, faster, and the all-around player, like showing what he could do. This was a game against the Knicks.
He jumped over a dude.
Exactly, over Tim Hardaway Jr. for that. Completely cleared him. That was incredible.
Here's Middleton. Giannis trailing the lob. Giannis Antetokounmpo for Chris Middleton. Johnny Mac loves it.
He jumped over another human.
He did.
All right, let's take it to the 2018-2019 season. That's when Giannis won his first MVP. All he did that season was average nearly 28 points, 12.5 boards, and 6 assists. Here was his acceptance speech.
2 years ago, I had the goal in my head that I'm going to be the best player in the league. Yeah, I'm going to do whatever it takes to help my team win, and I'm going to win the MVP. My goal is to win a championship, and we're going to do whatever it takes to make that happen.
Man, all of that just began right there.
Right.
It did not stop. The following year, 2019-2020, Giannis won his back-to-back MVP awards there. Defensive Player of the Year award as well. Just the third player in NBA history to win both in the same season. It was Giannis, Michael Jordan, and Hakeem Olajuwon. And he was making promises then, but the next year, oh boy, did they really come true.
Yeah, because this is what really matters to the great players. Championships, 2021 NBA Finals. They took down the Suns in 6 games, and in a 50-year drought for that franchise, he averaged more than 35 points, 13 boards during the series, including a 50-point performance in Game 6 to clinch the championship. Celebrated by bringing that Finals MVP trophy, a little fast food restaurant.
Chick-fil-A, Chick-fil-A. Can I have, please, a 50-piece Mac Minis, 50 exactly, not 51, not 49, chicken minis, yes, 50. These trophies are not leaving my side. What if all of a sudden I wake up and this is all a dream?
Let's just, what is your reaction to this massive trade, Giannis to the Heat?
Look, there's a Pat Riley bobblehead right behind me, and he's pointing right at Giannis Antetokounmpo, okay? And Pat Riley is the guy, when he decides he's going to get a star, he doesn't miss often, okay? He's missed a few times. They tried to get Kevin Durant a few times, but he has been focused on getting Giannis Antetokounmpo for years. This has been a guy that they've pursued several times. Milwaukee has not been willing to deal him. At the deadline, I was actually down in Florida right after the Heat had conversations with Milwaukee trying to get him in February. And the Heat came away from those conversations feeling like Milwaukee just wasn't ready to deal him yet. This is the best player in their franchise history outside of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. It's a big emotional thing to trade somebody like Giannis. And so they felt like once Milwaukee was ready to trade them, they would be right there waiting. The only question was when. And clearly the time is now. But Pat Riley has been focused on getting another star. And if you know Heat culture, there's not many better to fit Heat culture than Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Ramona, this is the domino we've been waiting to fall for quite some time. When you have a player of Giannis' stature, it can literally shift the entire structure of a conference, sometimes the entire league. So with that said, with Giannis going to the Heat in exchange for what they gave up and the Celtics not giving up Jaylen Brown and their draft picks, what does this do for the rest of the Eastern Conference?
Well, I think that's the big question, Michael. Like I think most of today we thought it was trending in a Boston direction. As Shams just said there on your show, Boston wasn't willing to put the extra young players in there that Milwaukee wanted to get a trade done. And let's think about why, okay? Jaylen Brown is a bona fide star. He finished 6th in MVP voting. I actually voted him in the top 5. He had his best year ever as a pro. How does he feel right now? I mean, I think he would have been okay in Milwaukee. I did some checking on that earlier in the day. He clearly wants to be a Celtic. But how do you feel coming off your best year where you led them to the number 2 seed in the Eastern Conference, and then you hear your name dangled for weeks in trade conversations? That's going to be a hard bridge to repair now. And the rest of the East is kind of wondering what happens with Boston here. What happens with Jaylen Brown? I'm going to be checking his Twitch feed deep into the night. But those are some things you're going to have to put, you're going to have to manage that. Now, remember, Jaylen Brown is a guy who's always had a chip on his shoulder. He will use this as fuel. But this is hard for the Celtics to sort through.
Okay, so maybe let's just stay there for a second. How do they do that? Like, is there a path forward where you can see Jaylen Brown staying in Boston, or has that sort of happened and they now need to officially move on?
I think that I see him in Boston going forward. I don't see him as the type to ask out or have his feelings hurt. This has happened to him before, but there's certainly some fence mending that needs to happen. And guys, we saw what happened to them in the playoffs. It didn't go well, right? This team, they overachieved during the regular season. You got to give Jaylen Brown a lot of credit for that, but they weren't good enough in these playoffs. They need to add to this team. They got young players. They grew up in the regular season, but let's see what Boston does now to add to the team around them. There's also other teams that are on the periphery. Do all those players, do they stay in Milwaukee now? I know Tyler Herro's from there, but he'll attract some interest. There's Detroit's going to try to get better. Orlando's going to try to get better. Let's see how many of those players actually stay there. And now let's go back to the Heat, who have been in the play-in tournament, right? They're the play-in tournament kings. Are they done? They've got some business to do now. They're very happy, from just talking to people in South Beach tonight, they're very happy that they got Bobby Portis in this trade. They're really excited about how he's going to fit in with that lineup. They like the defensive aspect of Andrew Wiggins on this team, Davion Mitchell. They still have to decide whether they're going to re-sign Norman Powell, who had an all-star season for them. So they have some business to attend to. And as Shams mentioned, this trade is just a construction. This could expand to 3, 4, 5 teams like we see before July 6th, because other teams can now run their business through this transaction cycle. And so it's going to be a very busy couple of weeks ahead. Oh, by the way, the draft is tomorrow.
By the way, there's that too. Ramona, thank you.
Yeah, you got it.
Well, the one thing the Heat have never been afraid to do is go big on a trade for big talent. 1996, trade package involving Glenn Rice and a 1996 first-round pick to Charlotte for Alonzo Mourning. All he did was become an all-star and a Hall of Famer and get his jersey retired.
Yeah, no big deal. Then the summer of 2004, Miami got Shaq from the Lakers for Caron Butler, Lamar Odom, and Brian Grant. 2 years later, what did it lead to? Their first NBA title with Shaq and Wade.
All right, now we're in 2010. Miami got the reigning back-to-back MVP LeBron James, all-star Chris Bosh, and a sign and trade deals with the Cavs and the Raptors. And, of course, Miami went on to win 2 titles in 4 seasons after acquiring those two trades.
Obviously, nothing can last forever. So following Wade's retirement in 2019, Pat Riley then set his sights on a new star, and he got one in Jimmy Butler. They agreed to a sign-and-trade deal with the Sixers for Butler, and the All-Star forward led them to 2 NBA Finals appearances.
All right, now let's bring it to present day. The Heat pick up the Greek Freak. And they're going to pair him with Bam Adebayo, who's been on a tear the last couple of seasons. Miami setting the sights on finally contending at the top of that Eastern Conference.